It's time to play it straight and honest with you about Dallas home builders. We're talking risk exposure, cost of carry, those builders and communities that just drain your equity, even if the home looks great on the surface. And that's the real risk, isn't it? That the home can look great and still very much not be. You have to evaluate using the right metrics going beyond the visible. So today we're going to talk about protecting your equity when you buy, during the time that you own, and in your exit strategy. We want appreciation velocity, and we're going to find that through a very important principle. Okay, you ready for it? It's called the equity protection framework. Because here's the thing. The home you're buying, okay, it's not a stock, but it still has a growth curve. The builder and the community you choose determines whether that curve is compounding or flatlining. First off, you need to know your equity can be compromised before you even own the home. Remember how I said a home can visibly look great but not be? Think builder contracts. In Dallas, you can have the highest quality of new construction paired with a sales contract that could bankrupt you. Think of these contracts as a gateway to what could be a fantastic investment, but there's incredible danger here. You have to navigate it with caution. Compliance risk is your big concern here when you're buying. Okay, let's talk about these contracts and get ready because we're going to be naming names. Now, we've got to be on guard against shady contracts, but the first thing you want to look out for is the builder who's after your money from the very beginning before you even go under contract. This happens in two ways. The first is when a builder makes you pay money before they will even present your offer to management. And the second way is sometimes they won't even let you see the contract itself until you pay a deposit. So you don't know if they will even consider your offer or if you even want to be bound to their contract. And yet they're asking you to put in cash. And we know of several builders who do this. Think about the lack of transparency and lost control here. If you can't see the contract, you don't know what the terms are of getting your money back if you decide not to buy. You may go into it thinking, well, if I change my mind or my financing doesn't come through, I'll just get my deposit back. But how can you count on that if you haven't even seen the contract yet? Let me throw up a stop sign right here. Your equity in the equity protection framework starts here, and it's at risk right here. This is where you start making money or losing money. Now, the sales consultants will probably tell you you'll get your money back if management doesn't accept your offer or you don't go under contract. And they're probably right, and you could believe them. But when it comes to 5, 10, or even 20,000, all right, are you gonna accept the verbal assurances of the sales consultant? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, every builder contract I've read will say that only what's in writing in the contract is binding. It will specifically say that there are no oral agreements between the parties. Some even spell out that the sales consultants have no authority to bind the builder. So what matters is what's in writing. And how are you going to get anything in writing if they won't even show you the contract before you pay money up front? A horrible thing about this is there are realtors who will advise you to go ahead and pay the deposit. This isn't their skin in the game. Rather than fight hard for you and negotiate that the builder waive the requirement and move forward without money changing hands, which, by the way, is exactly what we fight for, all right? They go for the easy route, asking you to put your money at risk. So let's just say you pay the deposit blindly, like they ask. You'll get it back if things don't work out, right? Well, that brings me to our second huge risk with these new construction contracts: builders not returning the deposit. I noted earlier that First Texas is one of the builders that wants money to change hands before you ever start negotiating. But check this out. In their contract, it reads, buyer acknowledges and seller provides notice that a $500 administrative fee shall apply to the processing of this contract. Seller, at its sole discretion, may apply this fee should it return any deposits for any reason other than seller termination pursuant to paragraph 15. Seller shall waive such administrative fee should buyer proceed to closing pursuant to this contract. So you have $500 at risk if you don't continue with this contract but you won't know that if they decide not to show you the contract first. So do you see how the sales consultant's assurances or even a realtor's assurances are meaningless here? They're overridden by the contract saying you are at risk of them keeping your $500. Now let's talk about Perry Homes for a minute. Perry Homes hasn't required money to change hands first for any of our clients, but you need to be extremely aware of their deposit policy. The Perry Homes contract reads, purchaser may terminate this contract and receive a refund of the earnest money minus a termination fee to seller of 50% of the earnest money only if purchaser fails to qualify for financing and notifies seller of same in writing within 14 days. So at the very best, if you terminate due to not getting your loan and you let them know within 14 days, you can get 50% of your deposit back. But if you don't let them know in time, or you decide to terminate for any other reason, hey, don't count on it. Okay, another serious risk with builder contracts is inspection restrictions. There are builders who put extra rules on inspections. So think about how important quality construction is in your cost of carry during the time you own your home, as well as your exit strategy when you sell. And yet you have these builders who layer restriction upon restriction on who can inspect your home and when. For example, First Texas's contract goes like this. First Texas Homes will honor any third-party inspector list prior to closing as long as the following requirements are met. It is scheduled the day before the first walkthrough. It is a final inspection, as no interim inspections will be honored. First Texas Homes will only allow one third-party inspection. First Texas Homes will only honor one third-party inspector list. Then they continue saying, if you choose to hire a third-party inspector during your 1-year warranty period, First Texas Homes will not be able to honor the report. Now, I personally love the designs and styles of First Texas Homes. And they are one of the few builders in Dallas where you can buy new construction without an HOA. So there are times buying with First Texas will make sense, but you have to know their contract. If you're only buying an inventory home, the restrictions won't be that burdensome, all right? But I personally wouldn't buy a new build since I can't do multiple inspections through the process. When we consider the equity protection framework, we want to think about any money that changes hands during the home buying process. There are some builders who add in hidden expenses to increase their profit, and this is our next risk, okay? Now, a great example of this is Lennar Homes. They use what they call a builder fee. Now, here's what it looks like in the closing disclosure, and the closing disclosure is honestly probably the first place you're gonna see anything about it, because most of these hidden expenses are thrown in at closing without you knowing anything about them. It's another huge reason you need someone on your side who knows what your closing disclosure should look like. In this particular example, we were reviewing the disclosure just days before closing and noticed the $1,800 builder fee for the first time. They hadn't said a thing about it up until that point. All right, no mentioning that your purchase price is actually $1,800 higher. And never mind any closing costs they might have said they were covering for you. You're basically covering them yourself once you factor in that $1,800. Another way this happens is through overcharging for your loan. Most of the time, builders will give you a compelling reason to use their lender through different incentives. But what you have to watch out for is lenders overcharging you for the loan fees. The builder may say that they're going to give you like $20,000 towards your closing costs, but then what if they overcharge you by $20,000 in loan fees? So you have to know what to look for. I want you to think for a minute about these contracts as a gateway to the equity protection framework. Like if you had an amazing business opportunity that would like double, or maybe triple your net worth, like you analyzed the numbers and the return on investment was absolutely wonderful, would you consider it? Even if the contract terms were risky. I mean, yeah, you would probably do your due diligence and then sign up. Well, that's how you have to look at home ownership with these builders. Some of these builders build high quality homes that bought in the right location have exponentially increased in value. Like Perry Homes, for example. I love their homes. but I hate their contracts. So I'm not going to boycott them completely when they do build a quality home, but I'm certainly not going to recommend our clients sign any contract without carefully reviewing exactly what they're committing to. I mentioned First Texas Homes earlier as well. Do you know how hard it is to find new construction without an HOA? All right, so that may merit your attention just for that reason alone. But you just have to be so cautious here. Look at it this way: in the same way that you would carefully consider partnering in a business, you have to bring that same caution into partnering with a builder to buy a home. Now, a great way to do this is by using the right realtor. In a business transaction, you know you need protection. When buying a home, you need protection as well, and you can get that through a great realtor. In this preliminary phase, there are some things you want to insist the realtor do with you. First off, they should read through every section of the contract with you. All right, this should be like a 1 to 2 hour meeting that is thorough, exhaustive, and detailed. This is where you are not going to listen to them say, well, read over it and let me know if you have any questions. They should also review the loan estimate with you. They should know exactly what to look for and be able to pinpoint if and where you're being overcharged. Third, and this is a big one, they should advocate for you relentlessly. There should never be a question as to whose best interests they represent. Now, how are you going to find out in advance if they do that for you? Well, just ask them. Like, you should never enter into an agreement without putting them through a grueling interview. Ask all the questions. If they won't give the time of day for that interview, all right, that's a red flag. If they don't have the answer for those questions, okay, that's a red flag. Hopefully it goes without saying that that is exactly what my brokerage does. If we sound like the right fit for the job, check out our Let's Find Home questionnaire that you can find in the description section. And when we meet, okay, bring the hard questions. Okay, so we've talked about compliance risk at the beginning when you're first starting to buy this home. Now let's talk about when you actually own the home, okay? Because the big risk you have here is the cost of carry. This is the time you own the home, you live in the home, you're out there enjoying the pickleball courts and walking trails. What you need to keep in mind here is the equity you're protecting doesn't just happen from buying in the right place and paying down your mortgage. Every time you have an expensive repair, you are robbing yourself of future equity. Sure, you won't be getting that 5 to 6 digit check at closing until you sell, but make no mistake here, okay? You are depleting your net worth and robbing your equity when you have to drop $15,000 replacing your air conditioner, or when you can't even sell without replacing carpet in the entire house. When you are buying, okay, now this is really important because of all these things, all right? I want you to think quality over quantity. Now, just as an example, from time to time, we have buyers who have large families but a comparatively low budget. They want a lot of square footage, and in that case, new construction may not be the best fit for them, all right? Because what they give you in square footage, they're going to take away in quality and upgrades unless you can pay for both. So think cheap home elements, okay? We're talking, cheap carpet, cheap flooring, bathroom vanities with no drawers, plastic tub surrounds instead of quality tile, less efficient siding instead of brick, so it's not energy efficient. So the list here can go on and on. There are several builders who will offer a plenty bigger home at a cheaper price. What you need to know, again, is to give you that square footage, they're going to have to cut costs somewhere else. So if you need big on a lower budget, I really suggest you go for like a quality pre-owned home. Otherwise, you are just going to find yourself replacing the cheap things and robbing yourself of equity. Also, go for the biggest and best warranty you can get. The industry standard is a 1-2-10. 1 year for workmanship, 2 years for plumbing and HVAC, and 10 years for structural. All right, do not make the mistake here of thinking that all warranties are the same. In fact, they are far from it. Some builders will only give you a 1 year warranty on workmanship and nothing for the second year. So if your AC goes out in that second year, okay, that's on you. Others will only offer 6 years of structural protection. The best warranty on the market right now that I know of is the 2210. You'll get this with Perry Homes and Britton Homes. You get a full 2 years on craftsmanship rather than just 1. So think how your risk exposure is limited when you have that extra warranty protection. We are operating within our equity protection framework, and the quality and duration of the builder's warranty absolutely plays into this, as well as the quality of the home. Okay, now let's talk about your exit strategy here, because this is where you're gonna get that nice fat check at closing. Now, have you heard the adage, money is made when you buy, not when you sell? All right, well, that's what we're gonna see here, okay? The potential risks can be things like liquidity risk, appreciation drag, capital lock-in, all of that, okay? I recently did a video where I talked about the principle of relative liquidity, and that's what I'm referring to when I say liquidity risk. Simply put, it means you want to buy in an area where the price point you're paying is abundantly, overwhelmingly supported by an active pool of qualified buyers. And that's going to come down to things like the schools, the amenities, home ownership rate, the overall community, and the quality and prices of surrounding homes. A big part of buying within the equity protection framework is being mindful of liquidity risk. Don't buy the biggest and nicest home in the area. You want to be surrounded by homes that are nicer than yours instead. When you're trying to sell, buyers consider themselves to be lucky when they find your home because they didn't think they could afford that neighborhood. All right, that's the principle of relative liquidity. You also want to keep appreciation drag in mind. You're going to see appreciation drag when you have unlimited homogeneity within the neighborhood. Think of communities with all one builder and all one budget, okay? When you have row after row of the exact same kind of house, this is going to reduce appreciation velocity. Your home is not going to go up in value as fast because there's nothing to distinguish it. And why would a buyer choose your home instead of the one down the street? Also consider capital lock-in. This happens when you buy early in a 2,000 plus home development. An individual homeowner simply cannot compete with a massive builder. Your equity will be trapped until the builder sells out. Now, I want to give you a few examples of this, okay? So you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You will see it with builders who are also developers, okay? So think Lennar or D.R. Horton. You will sometimes find thousands of homes all built by one builder. Some specific communities that come to mind here are Cartwright Ranch in Crandall or Liberty Trails in Fort Worth. Cartwright is planned for approximately 4,000 homes, and the home builders D.R. Horton and Lennar will build houses starting in the low 200,000s. Liberty Trails will have approximately 1,700 home sites planned, all with only one builder, D.R. Horton, and all within a seriously limited price range from $302,990 to $353,990. You can afford these issues by the community you choose and the builder you choose, okay? Opt for a community and builder where the prices are liquid for the area. And a builder who builds in an area with numerous other builders, that'll bring architectural diversity. The developer Hillstead here in Dallas is an excellent choice when you're thinking through this lens. They bring in 9 to 10 builders across multiple price points. You can mitigate liquidity risk as well as appreciation drag. In terms of capital lock-in, target a community and builder where the builders are nearly sold out. In all honesty, what we covered today is just the surface. We've talked about the builders and communities to avoid, but not yet about the builders who are actually worth your trust. And that is a whole different story. And you can find it waiting in my builder review playlist that you can check out right here. In the meantime, this is Wendy Pinnell, your Dallas realtor and broker, and I'll catch you on the next video.